Have you ever wondered why some women seem to hold a kind of quiet power that men can't explain, the kind that makes him both want to conquer her and fall to his knees before her? It's not in her looks, her words, or even her touch. It's something far older, something ancient. The dark feminine, not evil, not cruel, but a mirror that exposes a man's illusions about control, love, and power. It's the energy that does not seek to please, but to reveal. And that, for most men, is unbearable. Because men are taught to seek the light, the gentle, the soft, the nurturing. They fall in love with the woman who gives warmth and validation, not realizing that what they truly crave is the woman who can hold her own silence, her own mystery, her own storm. The dark feminine is not darkness in the way men fear it. It is the unfiltered, unapologetic expression of emotional truth. She is the part of woman that refuses to dim her intuition to make others comfortable. When she walks away from a man, it's not out of anger, but awareness. She senses the subtle games of ego, the way he measures love through control, affection through obedience, desire through approval. Her silence is not punishment, it is revelation. For in her quiet withdrawal, he meets himself, stripped of the illusions he built around what love should be. To understand her, one must abandon the logic of possession. She cannot be owned because she was never meant to be defined by another. She moves like the moon, not asking permission to wax or wane. She gives light, but only when she chooses. And when she withdraws it, it's not rejection, but restoration. For her energy, her attention, her heart are sacred currencies, not to be spent where they are not reciprocated in truth. Men often confuse her distance for coldness, her mystery for manipulation, her self-sufficiency for pride. But it is not pride, it is remembrance. She remembers what women forgot, that love given from fear of abandonment is not love, but a transaction. The dark feminine gives not to be loved, but because she is love, even when she withdraws, even when she destroys illusions. Every woman carries her within, the soft and the shadow, the nurturer and the destroyer. But in a world that glorifies light and punishes depth, most women learn to silence their shadow. They shrink, smile, comply. They become the good girl, praised for being easy, forgiving, endlessly available. But inside, the dark feminine sleeps, restless. She stirs when a woman grows tired of overgiving. She awakens when she realizes that softness without boundaries is not love. It's self-erasure. And when she awakens, she changes everything. She no longer chases apologies. She no longer explains her worth. She no longer tries to prove she's different, because she knows now that true power is not found in how much she is wanted, but in how deeply she is rooted in herself. Men feel this shift even before they understand it. Some are drawn in awe, others in fear, because the dark feminine demands presence, not performance. She sees through charm, through promises, through the illusion of certainty. Her gaze dismantles the mask that men wear to appear powerful, not because she wishes to humiliate, but because she was born to reveal what is real. She teaches without teaching. A man who loves her cannot remain asleep. Her silence becomes his mirror. Her absence becomes his initiation. For when she stops seeking him, he is forced to seek himself. And in that seeking, he either grows or he fades. She's not the storm itself, but the stillness before it. She does not scream, she simply stops explaining. She does not beg, she simply stops waiting. And that quiet withdrawal, that sacred detachment, terrifies the ego of men who have been fed by her energy for too long. But those who are ready, those who can stand in her presence without trying to fix, define, or conquer, find something they never expected. they find freedom. Because to love a dark feminine woman is to face your own shadows, your own insecurities, your own hidden wounds. It is to be stripped of pretense until only truth remains. And that truth is not gentle, but it is pure. In the depths of her eyes lies the reflection of everything he avoids. His fear of losing control, his hunger for validation, his quiet longing to surrender. She awakens in him what the world has told him to suppress, his vulnerability, his intuition, his stillness. She shows him that power without awareness is emptiness, that desire without depth is hunger without nourishment. She does not want his protection. She wants his presence, not his promises, but his truth. She meets him where he hides, not where he shines. And in doing so, she becomes not his fantasy, but his teacher. And when she finally walks away, when her silence replaces her song, he feels the echo of what he never understood. Not loss, but initiation. Because to love a woman like her is to be undone, so that something truer may emerge. Comes a moment when a woman stops trying to be understood, when she stops explaining her feelings in hopes that someone will finally see her depth. In that moment, she becomes dangerous, not because she is cruel, but because she is free. Men often mistake that freedom for indifference. They call her cold, unreachable, or too much. But what they don't understand is that she has simply seen the limits of what most people call love. She has touched the illusion and found it hollow. She has poured herself into others until her soul ached with emptiness, only to realize that love without self-respect is self-betrayal. This is the essence of the dark feminine. Not evil, not destructive, but the breaking of illusions. She is the part of womanhood that says no when the world expects her to smile and comply. She is the sacred rebellion against everything false, everything shallow, everything transactional. And yet, she is not angry. Her calm terrifies those who mistake peace for submission, because her peace is not silence, it is sovereignty. She has learned that the energy she gives is sacred, that every glance, every word, every touch carries weight. So she no longer gives it freely to those who take without gratitude. She no longer over-explains her softness or defends her intensity. She understands now that she was never meant to be understood by everyone, only by those who are ready to meet her in truth. Men often say they want a strong woman, but what they really mean is, I want a woman who is strong enough to carry me, yet soft enough to never confront me. They want her to be free, but not too free, confident, but not intimidating, sexual, but not powerful. The dark feminine laughs at such contradictions, not out of mockery, but because she has learned to see through them. She knows that to live as a woman in her full spectrum, gentle and fierce, soft and unyielding, is to break the world's expectations again and again. She is water and fire, moonlight and smoke. She gives without losing herself. She feels deeply, but does not drown. She loves, but she does not chase, because she has learned one of life's hardest truths. Love that must be begged for is not love at all. Men often fall in love with her mystery, unaware that the same mystery will test them. She is not a dream to be captured, but a mirror that demands presence. When he meets her gaze, he is confronted by the parts of himself he has ignored, his fear, his fragility, his hidden hunger for meaning. Some men rise in that reflection, others run, for she does not nurture the illusion of control. She does not soothe the wounded ego with false comfort. Instead, she calls forth his awakening, his depth, his surrender. And surrender is the one thing he fears most. Because to surrender to her is not to lose power. It is to lose pretense. It is to drop the armor and face what lies beneath. The boy who learned to perform strength to avoid rejection the man who mistook dominance for safety. She feels this even when he does not speak it. Her intuition cuts through words like silk through smoke. She knows when affection is a strategy. She knows when attention is bait. She knows when a man's admiration is not for her soul, but for what she mirrors back to his pride. This knowing makes her dangerous in the eyes of those who feed on illusion. But in truth, she is not dangerous at all. She is medicine. She awakens the dormant truth in others. She strips away comfort until only authenticity remains. When she loves, she does not do so halfway. Her love is total, consuming, alive. But it is not dependent. It does not beg for return. She gives from fullness, not emptiness. And that kind of love cannot be manipulated. It cannot be owned. The dark feminine does not seek to be chosen. She chooses. And in that act of choosing, she reclaims centuries of forgotten power. The power of discernment, of boundaries, of saying no with grace and yes with purpose. Men who cannot meet her depths will call her too complicated. But the truth is simpler. They cannot swim where she breathes. Her realm is the ocean, vast, deep, unpredictable. It requires presence, patience, and humility. To truly love her, a man must learn to stop performing and start listening, to stop trying to win her and begin to witness her. For she does not need saving, she needs seeing. She needs a man who understands that her darkness is not danger, but depth, that her silence is not distance, but discernment, that her intensity is not chaos, but creation, because she is not the shadow, she is the light that reveals the shadow. And the man who understands this will never again look at love the same way. Some women awaken not because they choose to, but because life leaves them no other choice. Betrayal, heartbreak, neglect. These are not punishments, but awakenings. Each wound peels away another layer of illusion until she stands naked before her own truth. That truth is this: no one is coming to save her. And perhaps that is her greatest liberation. The dark feminine is born in that silence after the storm, when a woman stops waiting for someone to fix what they broke inside her, when she stops confusing love with sacrifice, when she realizes that every time she begged to be understood, she was asking others to translate a language they never learned to speak. In that silence, something ancient rises within her. Not bitterness, but knowing. A kind of stillness that is deeper than peace. A calm that comes not from safety, but from surrender. She has seen the worst, and still she stands. She has lost what she thought she couldn't live without. And yet, here she is, breathing, radiant, unbroken. Men often mistake this radiance for detachment. They think she doesn't care anymore, but they are wrong. She cares more deeply than ever, just not in ways that deplete her. Her care has become selective, sacred, wise. She no longer gives to prove her worth. She gives because it is her nature to overflow, but now she chooses where to pour. Before her awakening, she gave endlessly, to lovers, to friends, to those who could not meet her halfway. She confused empathy with obligation, forgiveness with permission. She mistook being needed for being loved, but now she knows better. The dark feminine doesn't chase what runs and doesn't hold what resists being held. She understands that love is not found in control, but in connection, and connection cannot be forced. She has learned to let go, not because she doesn't feel, but because she finally understands that clinging to what is misaligned is a form of self-abandonment. This understanding gives her a strange serenity. When others panic, she pauses. When others grasp, she releases. Because she has learned what few ever do, that love is not meant to consume you, but to expand you. And yet this kind of peace unsettles men who equate love with possession. They look at her independence and feel their own inadequacy. They interpret her self-assurance as arrogance, her calm as indifference, her silence as rejection. But it is none of those things. It is simply power reclaimed, not over others, but over herself. In a world that worships attention, her ability to withdraw it is revolutionary. She knows her silence can speak louder than her words. Her distance can reveal more than her presence. For when she pulls away, it is not out of spite. It is out of clarity. She does not fight for what cannot feel her. She does not explain her value to those who cannot see it. The dark feminine moves with rhythm, not rush. She understands cycles, beginnings, endings, the space in between. She knows that destruction is not the opposite of creation, but part of it. She allows things to die when their time has come. Old identities, old patterns, old loves. She buries them without bitterness because she knows that every ending carries the seed of renewal. Her detachment is not emotional numbness, it is spiritual intelligence. She knows that the one who can walk away in peace is the one who has mastered the art of love. Love that does not cling, love that does not cage. She can let go with grace because she trusts the rhythm of life itself. Men who meet her at this stage either evolve or retreat. Those who evolve find themselves disarmed, undone, purified. They realize that to stand beside her, they must meet her as equals, not as saviors, not as masters, but as mirrors. She doesn't want dominance, she wants depth. She doesn't crave attention, she craves alignment. She doesn't ask for perfection, she asks for presence. And that is what terrifies most men. Not her power, but her clarity. Because clarity cannot be manipulated. It cannot be seduced by promises or distracted by illusions. Her gaze, once naive, now sees through everything. She recognizes when a man speaks from ego and when he speaks from soul. And when she senses the difference, her energy responds accordingly. Not out of judgment, but resonance. This is her alchemy. She transmutes pain into wisdom, endings into beginnings, rejection into redirection. She no longer resists life. She dances with it. Every heartbreak becomes a lesson. Every silence becomes strength. Every shadow becomes light when she looks at it without fear. She's no longer the girl waiting for love to find her. She has become love itself, not the fragile kind that needs approval, but the eternal kind that flows effortlessly through her being. And in that transformation, she becomes untouchable. Not because she builds walls, but because she embodies truth. She cannot be played because she does not play. She cannot be left because she never leaves herself. This is the woman men never truly understand, the one who walks away not in anger, but in awareness. When a man meets a woman who has embraced her dark feminine, he often senses something he cannot name, a current beneath her stillness, a depth that both invites and unsettles him. She does not beg for his love, and yet he cannot stop thinking about her. She's not performing, not pretending, not seeking. She's simply being, and that being radiates a power far greater than seduction, presence. This presence is magnetic because it is rare. It is the energy of a woman who has stopped negotiating her worth. The world taught her to fear loneliness, but she learned to savor solitude. The world told her to be desirable, but she learned to be divine. And now, she walks with a kind of grace that makes others question their own illusions about love. Men who meet her try to decode her silence, but her silence is not a riddle. It is a boundary. It is the sound of her choosing herself again and again. She knows now that love built on confusion, inconsistency, and dependency is not love, but addiction. So she no longer tolerates the half-present, the half-honest, the half-awake. She has become whole, and wholeness cannot meet halves without fracturing. The dark feminine is not a role she plays. It is a frequency she embodies. She doesn't fight for attention because she no longer feeds off of it. She doesn't seek closure from others because she has learned how to close her own doors. She doesn't chase validation because she has remembered something most people forget, that her existence alone is enough proof of her worth. And when a man tries to control her, she does not resist. She simply watches, for she knows that true power never needs to prove itself. She allows him to reveal his insecurity, his fear of irrelevance, his confusion at her peace. She holds space, but she does not shrink to comfort him. She has learned that compassion without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice, and she refuses to bleed for those who mistake love for ownership. To love her is to step into a fire that burns away illusion. It is to face one's own fear of not being enough, for she will not fill the void within him. She will illuminate it. She will not complete him. She will challenge him to complete himself. And this is why so many men misinterpret her power. They call her too intense because they cannot meet her depth. They say she expects too much because she demands truth instead of comfort. But all she really asks for is presence, a heart unafraid to feel, a soul unafraid to see. The dark feminine woman does not seek to be worshipped, though many do. She seeks to be met, not by flattery, but by awareness. To love her, a man must shed his armor, drop his script, and stand naked in his honesty. She will not punish his vulnerability. She will honor it. But she will not tolerate cowardice disguised as calm, nor dominance disguised as devotion. Her energy calls forth truth, and truth is rarely gentle. It strips away delusion. It reveals where love is conditional, where desire is performative, where control hides beneath affection. Her presence does not destroy men, it destroys the masks they wear. When she speaks, she doesn't seek agreement. Her words are spells. They awaken remembrance. She doesn't talk to impress, she speaks to connect. She listens with the kind of silence that makes others hear themselves more clearly. And when she touches, it is never casual. Her touch carries consciousness. It awakens what has been dormant. She knows the difference between lust and reverence, between attention and devotion. Her body is not a tool for validation, but a temple for truth. She no longer offers it to those who cannot honor its sacredness, because she understands that energy is exchange. And what is given without awareness drains the soul. This awareness changes everything about how she moves through the world. She no longer rushes toward relationships. She no longer seeks intensity for the sake of feeling alive. She is already alive, deeply, fully, quietly. Her joy no longer depends on being seen. It comes from seeing herself. And that is what truly disarms men. She is whole in her own company. She doesn't need him, but she might choose him. And that difference shakes the foundations of his ego. For he was taught that power lies in being desired. But here is a woman whose desire cannot be bought, whose love cannot be earned through performance, whose peace cannot be disturbed by absence. To love her, he must unlearn the old patterns, the chase, the conquest, the reward. He must stop trying to possess what was never his to own. For the dark feminine cannot be taken. She can only be met, moment by moment, in truth. She does not ask him to be perfect. She only asks that he be real, raw, aware, unmasked. Because the man who can meet her in that space will not lose her. He will not need to chase her. He will not need to question her loyalty. He will simply feel it, not through words, but through resonance. And when that resonance happens, when two awakened energies meet without fear or pretense, love stops being a game. It becomes something sacred, something that frees rather than binds, something that deepens rather than drains. This is what the dark feminine teaches, that love is not about possession. it's about presence. There comes a point where she no longer argues, no longer defends, no longer explains her heart to those who listen only to reply. She realizes that her energy is not meant for convincing, it's meant for creating. And so she begins to build a life that feels like peace instead of performance. This is where the dark feminine transcends pain. She no longer needs to prove her worth through struggle or through someone else's recognition. The woman who once chased closure now embodies it. The woman who once feared being misunderstood now understands herself so completely that misunderstanding becomes irrelevant. She doesn't need to be liked to be powerful. She doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole, because she now knows that the only approval that ever truly mattered was her own. And that realization changes everything. Men sense it before she even speaks. The way she moves, the way she holds herself, it's different now. She no longer vibrates in scarcity. She no longer hides her strength behind softness or her softness behind strength. She has become the perfect paradox, nurturing and untamed, grounded yet mysterious, calm yet untouchable. She is not afraid to love, but she will never again love from fear. The dark feminine has learned that vulnerability is not weakness, it's discernment. She can open her heart fully, but not blindly. Her love is no longer a plea, it's an offering, and offerings are sacred, not desperate. The men who meet her now feel something unfamiliar, a love that does not flatter their ego, but awakens their soul. She doesn't play the game of withholding or chasing, she simply is. Her very presence asks one silent question: can you meet me here? In truth, without pretending, without needing me to be smaller so you can feel bigger. Most cannot, but those who can find that she becomes not a partner in possession, but a companion in expansion. Her love does not cage, it liberates. It pushes those around her to evolve, to drop the performance, to stop fearing the depth of emotion. She no longer reacts to inconsistency, she simply withdraws. She no longer argues with projection, she lets silence dissolve the noise. Because she has realized that the moment she stops feeding the illusion starves. This is her quiet rebellion, not fighting the world, but no longer serving its illusions. There was a time when her empathy was her weakness, when she felt responsible for healing others. But the dark feminine teaches that not all pain is hers to hold. She can love someone and still let them fall. She can care deeply and still choose distance, for she has learned the most sacred form of compassion, detachment. To detach is not to stop feeling. It is to stop clinging. It is to let love exist without ownership. This is what confuses men most, how she can love so fiercely, yet remain so free. They are used to control disguised as care, and dependency disguised as devotion. But her love has no strings. It doesn't ask for proof. It doesn't demand guarantees. It flows, and when it no longer flows, it releases. She understands that endings are not failures, they are closures. That walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. That absence can be an act of love, the kind that says, I will not destroy myself to keep you comfortable. This level of awareness transforms everything she touches. Her relationships deepen, her friendships grow cleaner, freer, her body softens, her heart expands. She begins to glow differently, not because she is being loved, but because she is being true. And truth for her has become the most seductive energy of all. When she speaks now, her words carry weight because they are no longer diluted by fear. When she looks at someone, they feel seen, not for who they pretend to be, but for who they are beneath it all. And when she loves, it feels like being recognized by something eternal, because that's what she is, eternal. The dark feminine is the cycle of life itself: creation, destruction, rebirth, She reminds the world that love is not the avoidance of pain, but the willingness to meet it with open eyes. That to be powerful is not to control, but to surrender with grace. And when a man finally understands this, truly understands it, he realizes that she was never his mystery to solve. She was his mirror. She came into his life not to be possessed, but to awaken him, to show him the difference between love that flatters the ego and love that frees the soul. And once she has done that, she does not stay to be idolized. She moves on, leaving behind not emptiness, but awakening. She does not need to win. She does not need revenge. Her peace is her proof. Her silence is her power. Her presence is her answer. And those who once took her for granted will remember her, not as the one who stayed, but as the one who showed them what real love felt like before disappearing into her own wholeness again. Because the woman who has met her own shadow no longer fears the dark. She is the dark, beautiful, vast, and free. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses.